Thank you again for speaking with me. Go ahead and state your name and tell me your ride. What are we looking at?
Hi, Patrick Lynch. So we've got a 1969 Ford Mach 1. This car is to code, so it shows a 351 Windsor. There's been some upgrades to it, including a step up to a 4-barrel carburetor, and they've added oil cooler and upgraded GT suspension, wheels, brakes. It's a 1-inch larger wheel, but it's completely remodified. Restored interior. Everything about the car is basically within 5 to 10 years of age. So it's basically an old car with all the brand new.
Like a proper resto model, right?
But no customization to it. So it got it back to its original state. The reason that I picked this car was because in high school, my brother-in-law had a 69 Mach 1. I had a 69 Coupe. And I just fell in love with the 69 year. I just think it's the best Mustang year ever. And this happened to be here at West Coast Exotic. And it sat for about 6 weeks, and I kept looking at it and negotiated a good deal, and now it's in my garage.
I love hearing that. And I just wanted to ask you, too, why you picked it, but you kind of explained that yourself. And so could you tell me, I guess, back in the day, you've driven kind of the Mustangs of yesteryear. I mean, how do you feel about them now? Why is this your favorite versus the great-looking modern stuff, the new stuff? But why do you feel like this signifies or quantifies Mustang?
Well, what's interesting to me is that when I saw Ford kind of bringing back the old Mach 1 shape, and that was roughly 2005, 2006, I think they've perfected the old design and they kind of gave it new life. And it brings more value to this because that's the origin. So to me, I think they're all a family of cars, and this was the kind of the granddaddy of them all. So it's not the fastest car, it's not the most horsepower, but it's just fun to drive.
The feeling you get, the way when you're behind the wheel on the freeway or showing up to a car meet, I think is more special than some of these amazing cars. And I just had to stop and admire it. And I thank you again for talking with me and giving me that time. Let's go back. What kind of made you a car enthusiast, or what kind of got you into the car culture?
Oh, my father collected old cars, and he loved Ford. His father worked for Ford for 50 years. Right off the boat from Ireland, he installed asbestos lining in the ceilings of several old Fords. Finally passed away from that because of the emphysema from the asbestos. But we were a Ford family. I grew up in Detroit. And so if anyone's ever heard of Woodward Avenue, and you hear about it in some old Bob Seger songs, Woodward's about cruising in your old Mustangs or Chevys. And so when you look at the base models of like American Muscle, it was Chevy and Ford and Shelby kind of making things happen, say mid-60s. But it's just grown from there. And so I grew up in that culture, and it's why I value it. So my kids, they're not obviously from this generation. They're in the mid-20s, but they're appreciating the rebirth of some of these old cars. So for them, it's exciting as well, and that's part why I do this.
I love it, and I love hearing that. And I think, could you tell us, what do you think of the modern American cars? What do you feel the direction they're doing right, and what are they doing wrong? You kind of mentioned, bringing back some of their heritage, models. The Shelby GT350 right over there. These. Well, what do you feel like they're doing right, and what do you think that you wish you would like to see more of?
Well, what scares me, and what gives that is a beautiful car.
Hell Kitty, you love that.
Gosh. What scares me the most and excites me about gas is that with all of the environmental push towards electric, it's going to basically isolate the old cars, and I think gasoline is probably going to stay expensive forever. But I do think that there's a culture of people that will never want to depart from the old gas-powered cars that you could time yourself. I don't like the electronics that are,
say myself in my mid-30s. Yeah, I get all these CAN busts and things of that nature. And then what's wrong with going in there, tinkering with a damn carburetor, which, don't get me wrong, that doesn't sound as much fun either. But
for the timing, all I needed, my dad taught me, and that's part of why I do this. My dad taught me how to change an exhaust system. He taught me how to time a car using chalk, a golf tee, and a timing lamp so that you could turn the distributor to make your car hum. And you can do that with these old cars. I can't do it with the new cars.
I wouldn't know. Yeah. That's just
So
not
the tinker
feasible.
factor's gone with the new generation, and that's the thing I was going to say is different.
And so what do you think they're doing right?
Oh, everything. I mean, when you look at the horsepower in some of those 5.0 Mustangs and the interior, I think they're special, and I see them go for a lot of money, and there's a reason. I mean, there's a Mustang family out there, and it's a big, big family that basically will keep the Mustang name alive, I think, forever. Kind of like Chevy Chevelle, the GTO from Pontiac, and Mustang. But boy, we're in a cool spot to see some nice cars.
Do you feel that Ford should branch off the Mustang name, kind of like how Ram did with
Wow, it's too late. It wouldn't have been a bad idea in 2006 when they basically gave rebirth to the Mach 1 series. I think it's too late. I think Ford's going to find more value in keeping it under their umbrella.
All right, yeah, and I appreciate that because that's always been in the back of my mind. Last question, and I'll let you go. We're starting to talk about it, but California wants to transition to electrification in the next 15 to 20 years. Given the electric cars and what we have here, what do you think of electric cars in the future of the car culture?
So I think the concept is great. My fear is access to the raw materials, lithium, barium, and all the cobalt, the stuff that we don't have, which is going to force either another war or it's going to force some type of arrangements that, we're writing checks that our body can't cash. So it scares me to think that we're going to be dependent on a technology that may not have access to the minerals that we need for the proliferation that they've got in mind.
Yeah, and that's something that our politicians, they've set the goalposts. They can always move them if they need to, but we'll have to wait and see in the future.
Nobody's making any more cobalt or lithium. It's in the ground,
and that's going to be at the human factor and the human cost. And don't get me wrong, it's not just electric cars; it's all of our electronics. But where do we put the stopgap for making such a massive transition? We don't know.
I hope we're transitioning to something that makes sense.
I love that. We'll end that right there. Is there any shout outs or plugs or thank yous you want to give out, go ahead and do so now.
Yeah, so SoCal Rod and Custom in Temecula, they're absolutely amazing at diagnosing any issues with the car. They've helped me keep this car on the road, and they've helped prevent some big problems from happening. But West Coast Exotic, I mean, they are so transparent in their dealings, and when they sell you a car, they explain everything to you, good and bad, and there's nothing that wasn't fun about the transaction here. I absolutely had a blast.
A good buyer experience, and I'm sure you'll be back when you get. I really appreciate it. Thank you again so much.
Thanks.